So, just curious, who's your favorite Republican candidate right now? Like, and by that I mean, who's your favorite dumbass?
So, favorite in the sense that I think they might make sense, and if I had to vote Republican, I'd vote for them? Or favorite in the sense that, oh my gosh, this is absolutely hilarious?
That one. That one.
Donald Trump. I can't stand him. We disagree. I don't find him particularly bright or informed or compelling, and I'm not even sure where he stands on most things. But I've never been more interested. I haven't been this interested in a Republican debate since I was a Republican, 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I watched all of them. I liked it because I like trying to find areas where we agree. So I took the I stand with test to figure out which politicians I side with on more issues. And of course, I came out 96% Bernie Sanders and 95% Hillary or something like that. And then Ted Cruz is at 3% because he's just terrible. And others fell in different places, and it was interesting to compare results with my wife and friends. But most of the Republicans on that dais, if they said something of substance, which quite a few of them really didn't get to much substance, probably half of the ones that said something of substance, I agreed with them to some extent and thought that they said good things. I thought Carly said some good things. I thought Rand said some good things.
Obviously not anything about vaccines.
No, gosh, that was so frustrating. When are we going to put this vaccine crap to bed? It's just what made me saddest about that is Ben Carson, the pediatric neurosurgeon, refused to do what he should have done. He offered some clarity, but he should have been forthright and said, Donald is wrong. Anybody who's saying this is on the opposite side of all of the best science, and they are terrifying people into making mistakes that put lives at risk. And they are picking out strange exceptions or personal anecdotes about my friend's kid had this vaccine and then he got a fever and was autistic afterwards. These are people making pronouncements about medicine with absolutely no expertise and getting it exactly wrong. That's what a pediatric neurosurgeon should have said. And while I didn't like him before, I certainly wouldn't. He didn't gain any favor with me with his, we disagree, and he might have a point about this, but the science is here. It's weak.
Yeah. Which I think what it makes it worse about Rand Paul is that he actually is a doctor. I think he's an optometrist or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. But,
you should keep prescribing glasses and stick with that. Well, then in Texas, you've got Don McElroy, the dentist, who sat on the State Board of Education telling people how we needed to stand up to the experts on evolution. So that evidently resonated well with the Republican candidates who now feel that they can just stand up to the experts anywhere. Why not? My information is just as good as the person who spent their whole life submitting peer-reviewed papers. Because I have a friend.
So, but is there a certain Republican candidate that you actually wouldn't mind seeing running against some of these others?
I honestly, I'm not really too bothered about who they put up. I don't find that any of them are really good candidates. What would terrify me is if someone like Huckabee or Cruz were to actually surge in the polls to where they would become the front runner for the Republicans. Because I think that if that would be an indicator that I don't know what language limits I have here, that the batshit crazy element of the Republican Party, which isn't representative of all of them by any stretch, it's certainly not representative of all conservatives. But if they had a surge, it would mean that group had gained a stronger power base. and that we were now at risk of the world becoming much, much worse off. I don't like, for example, Rand Paul. Certainly there are things we agree on. If he ended up president, I don't think that the world would be, in a catastrophic position. Certainly some legislation would be, and there would be issues that we're going to deal with no matter who gets elected from either party. But if, like, Cruz or Huckabee got there, that would be... Like, I have no interest to move. I'm not going to run away from my country, I'd rather fix things from the inside. But that might tempt me. I have friends in Canada.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's going to win. I'm not even sure. I actually kind of hope, I wish that Bernie could win. I don't think he can. And so I don't think he'll get the nomination. And I hope that he doesn't, because I think if he gets the nomination, the Republicans will probably win, even if they put Trump up. Because everybody's terrified of the socialism label, which is tied too strongly to him. Although it would be fun to spend the next year or so talking about whether or not Jesus was a socialist. Because you can make that case a little bit.
Yeah. I'm saying, who's your favorite dumbass?
I'm going to have to say Donald Trump. Just because, in my opinion, he's got a couple things that I like. I mean, if we're going to have a Republican president, then we got to have one of those crazy right-wing bastards. Let it be him. He's got a fantastic tax reform plan that I like, the 1, 5, 10, 15, which I was reading about would wipe out 1/4 of the deficit from day one, which is fucking fantastic, and I think it's a great plan. He takes us a little too far, but the political correctness has to go. It's a time to be politically correct. We can't be sucking everyone's dick all day, every day, just to be politically correct. So I kind of like that about him, but he does take it too far. The misogyny and the sexism is a little too much.
Yeah.
He also has a pretty good stance on the Middle East and ISIS. I kind of like that. I like that he's moderate. Might seem crazy, but he's not all the way right-wing. Other than that, the rest of them are that shit crazy. Seriously. But Bernie Sanders, 2016, all day. That's who I'm voting for.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this. What would a post-Trump America look like?
That's a good question. Well, you can ask the same thing about Bernie. What would a post-Bernie America look like? How much power does a president really have? It's not that much. The president is kind of limited in what he can do, but I think that there is a general political movement towards getting all of this old crap out and bringing in some new stuff. We need reform. We need change everywhere. We need prison reform. We need police reform. We need tax reform. We need court reform. It's kind of sad, the state of affairs. I mean, we're living in like one of the best times in the United States. We just finally legalized gay marriage, despite the fact of how many people are not accepting that. It's still pretty good. We're winning, and I think that we have to continue that. The good thing about someone like Bernie Sanders running is that he's setting the bar really high, and he's attracting a lot of attention. So in the future, if you want to run for president and you're not meeting that minimum expectation, you're probably not going to make it. You're probably not going to get elected. To me, that's the fantastic thing, because that shows that generally we're going to start moving towards progression.
Right. Yeah, I mean, your favorite dumbass.
I think everyone's favorite dumbass is Donald Trump right now. It's too easy. The jokes write themselves. But the fact that his polling is going so well is a lesson. And the fact that the more racist he is, the more successful he is. And that kind of gives us a glimpse of the base of the party that we're dealing with and the obstacles we still have to overcome. Mm-hmm. If he wasn't saying these things and everyone was just arguing Obamacare and taxes, we wouldn't really get a sense of what problems we have to overcome. So we know we have differences, or I say we, but I know as a far left liberal what obstacles I have to overcome given taxes and rich the rich, the 1% getting these huge breaks, and I understand those obstacles. I get it. What I don't necessarily always understand is what the Republican base feels like towards minorities and towards women. And Donald Trump is teaching me that. And it's not necessarily I'm taking what he says as this is what everyone believes, but when he says it and his numbers go up, that tells me something about the base. Not everyone. I know not every Republican is like that, but it's alarming. But I think it's kind of eye-opening at the same time.
What do you think like a post-Trump presidency would look like? Like America?
Him quitting within 3 months when he realizes he actually has to do something. He wouldn't get anything done. If Trump got elected, he wouldn't have a party behind him. Because not even the Republicans like him.
Yeah.
So if he somehow managed to win, even the Republicans in Congress wouldn't be passing bills that he would like. Because even they're all speaking out against him. They're all saying he doesn't need to be in this race. He's making a mockery of our party, which I think is good for them. It's good that they distance themselves, even though the base polling numbers aren't reflective of that. I think it's important as a party that they do that. But I think he would get very little accomplished, and he would just tell everyone they're stupid, and we wouldn't get anywhere. And it would be kind of like a stalemate, because what would happen is, like every cycle, the Democrats would then come in, they'll take the House and the Senate eventually, as they always do, unless it's going to happen, because they're going to pass bills, and then he's going to veto it. So, thankfully, that's a 1 in a billion chance of him actually winning. I think even the Republican National Convention is going to, their whole organization is going to make sure he doesn't get it. They'll work very hard to make sure he's kind of pushed out. But yeah, I think it would. I'm not scared of a Donald Trump presidency because he's just not going to get anything done.
Yeah.
He'd get stomped on by both parties.
Do you have a favorite in the race right now?
Oh yeah, Bernie Sanders.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm a long time. I grew up in New Hampshire. Bernie right next door in Vermont. I'm a very out and open socialist. Bernie's a bit not as socialist as I am. He's very much working within the party. He's working with it. But I think he's our best choice to actually enact some form of change. And the change that we're talking about, when everyone's so focused on these other issues, he really is talking about poverty for the first time in a meaningful way. He's talking about how to educate our society in an actual meaningful way and paying for kids' tuition. He's talking about doing things that European countries have been doing for generations, and we're still so far behind. And so yeah, he's by far my favorite. He's got my support.
Okay, awesome.
My favorite? Oh, Trump, 100%.
Trump?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he epitomizes what every Republican in this country represents. And he makes the Democrats look good. And he definitely makes Bernie look good. So, yeah, let him keep doing it. The more he opens his mouth, the more crap that comes out. That weird dead rat on his head, Bernie just get better and better and better. Yeah. It's all by comparison.
Well, what do you think America would look like post-Trump presidency? Like him getting elected to be president?
I see a crippling deficit, a widening gap in the wealthy and the poor, that poverty class. It's maybe a lot more casinos, possibly.
I figured bigger walls.
Bigger walls. They're going to start building walls. They need to start somewhere along the Mason-Dixon line and just work their way.
Well, I can just see him in the Oval Office being like, now listen, when I look at the satellite, I want to see the state lines. So we need to get to building these Attack on Titan style walls, okay?
Yeah.
We got to do it to keep them gays out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just wonder who's going to get to build them if he kicks all the immigrants out. I ain't going to build the damn thing, that's for sure. Like that.
But now, so I'm guessing, do you favor Bernie Sanders for president?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any certain reason why?
It's his track record. Most politicians, it's all just like a circus show. They're not really. They're just preaching to their masses and
their voter base.
to their voter, their constituents or whatever you say. But Bernie, through the 70s all the way up, his platform hasn't changed. He's still for equality. He still stands for the social safety, the net. Getting the money out of government, or at least out of the elections, big money. He's consistent. He hasn't really flip flopped. And if he's wrong, he'll admit that he's wrong. Right. He's not. He doesn't think that he's infallible. Where you get with Hillary and the Republicans, because if you catch them in something, they'll backtrack real quick and they're like, oh no, that's not what I meant, and this is why I said that. They'll be like, yeah, I said it. My bad. What can we do to fix it? So it's that kind of honesty that I think we really need.
Okay, so would your ideal 2016 election include Trump as a Republican and Bernie Sanders as the I guess not really the Democrat, because I think he's more independent. He's right?
Socialist
right.
Democrat,
So I guess it would be Trump, Bernie, and then Hillary, right? Would be the three main runners. Because I think Hillary's probably going to get the Democratic nomination, and then of course Bernie's independent, but he's popular. Yes. And then Trump I think he's currently leading. I'm not sure.
I think the Republican debate he lost about 80 points.
Oh, really?
That's from what I think that's what I was told. I didn't catch all of it.
It was probably that woman comment. Yeah.
I'm sure it was one of those comments.
Yeah.
Choose one. Yeah. Rapist. He just compiles shit over his entire campaign. It's just
this guy is a complete dumbass.
I'm enjoying / hating every moment of Trump.
Trump seems to be everybody's favorite.
The unfortunate thing is that he is relevant to the discussion now. He's become the person that we need to talk about, because if he has achieved this success that he has, along with all of the fucked up facepalm moments where you've got people in the KKK yeah, Trump, we got your back, woo, what was it the other day? The guy. He was asked a question, when are we going to get rid of all of the Muslims? And he's like, oh, this is a valid question, or this is a question that we need to hear. And he never really answered the fucking question. It's wow, perfectly racist, represents all that's wrong with our society right now in so many ways. He's succeeding because he's a mirror of our own culture in some ways. I think it's shocking. I don't know. He's my favorite just because he's illuminating some very fucked up characters of our country, I guess.
Yeah. Now, since you picked Trump, I have to ask, what do you envision for a post-Trump America?
Post-Trump, when he's gone?
No. Assume that he's been elected to president. What would that look like for America, after 4 years?
I know, probably a lot of people are oh, it's going to be doom and gloom, everything's going to blow up and everything's going to be on fire and there's going to be lots of persecution or whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the worst of the worst. I think he'd probably do something to fuck up and probably get impeached or something, and we would go through a reasonable proceeding to get rid of the dude. Or he may just do a shitty job and get away with doing a shitty job. I'm not going to jump the bandwagon and say, oh, he's just going to, run the country into the ground, even though I think that's kind of what he would do.
Well, he does have a habit of running businesses into bankruptcy and then, doing a whole bunch of legal finooey stuff. Yeah. And, so I don't know how he can do that with $1 trillion budget, but I'm sure that he'll figure out a way to magically poof that shit using the Bible. Yeah. Also, walls. I figured that there's probably going to be Attack on Titan sized walls across, all of the states. And, that way we just keep out all of the outside thought and everything like that.
Everyone's going to get their own wall for just themselves. Every individual gets a wall. It's going to get to that point.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to build it themselves.
Yeah. What I mean by favorite is who's your favorite dumbass, basically?
It's got to be Trump right now. It was Bush for a long time with Cruz, but Trump is just so taken over, man, and it just makes me think with how Trump's good for the people. Trump, no, he's not good for people. Just listen to him talk. I mean, if you listen to a 5-minute talk by this man and you still say he's good for people, then you're stupid.
Well, okay, what, now that you've picked Trump, I have to ask, what would a post-Trump America look like? Like after he gets elected, how crazy do you think it would be?
Oh, it would be just like a tub full of shit. I mean, it really would be. It's just like a tub of turds. And, you know, I think it's bad now. Think about this guy who looks after nothing but money. And if you don't have money, you're upset. And, you know, somebody says, well, he relates to the people. He cannot relate to someone like that. I grew up in a trailer park, man. I grew up in like apartment complexes. He can't relate to that. He just can't. I don't give a shit if he's a self-made millionaire. He's also a self-made asshole.
Well, you know, he does have a habit of driving his casinos into bankruptcy and then pulling them out somehow.
He's made bankruptcy a business. Like,
yeah. Do you think that he would bankrupt America at one point and then try to pull it out somehow? I don't know how you could turn that around, but
I think our debt would go ridiculous. I do, but you know, who knows? I don't know much about the debt, so I'm just saying that he's looking out for himself. I mean, he's looking out for that pocketbook.
Now, have you selected a favorite candidate, like in a serious manner?
Oh,
yet? Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. Right. I was like really wanting Elizabeth Warren to run. That's my chick, you know. I would kiss her. But anyways, yeah, Bernie. I like how he seems like he really cares about people, and he's like, fuck big money. He don't really care about big money, and that's what I'm about. He's not like Trump or the rest of the Republicans. You know, the money's what counts, and it really is. It's the people that what counts, and he seems like the most less full of shit, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I like how he has really gone against like the media. Like for instance, with them wanting him to really diss Hillary or speak about Hillary or whatnot instead of his actual platform, he refused. I mean, is that one of the reasons why you really like him for the presidency?
Yeah, I mean, you see, he seems to talk to me. You know what I mean? And he seems like he just doesn't care if the big companies, you know, the big banks are behind him. He doesn't really care. And he's been fighting for civil rights for so long. I mean, he's just a good man, it seems like. Yes, he's a politician. Yes, he's probably full of shit in some cases. But, like I said before, less full of shit than the others.
Favorite is in The Biggest Dumbass.
Oh, come on. That's not even a question. The answer is Mike Huckabee.
Oh, Mike Huckabee? See, it's really odd because you're the first one to say Mike Huckabee. Everybody else has been Trump.
No, I know he's stupid, but I get the feeling that he's either playing a character, not in the sense that he's being fake.
Right.
I mean, in the sense that he's playing a character to a base of people. Like his character is being directed at something or a certain demographic of people. Where he might not believe the stuff he says. Like it's pain to get him to say anything positive about the Bible. It's pain to get me to you know. I mean, like if you look at the rest of the Republican field, like Huckabee, for instance, it's not hard for them to bring religion into it. All of them do it, right? Except to a degree, Trump. Like it's happened. He said stuff about it, but it comes off as nonsensical, like he doesn't really believe it. Right? Am I wrong? If I am wrong, send me links where he's been articulate in expressing his faith. Seriously. Because at the bottom line, the dude's a businessman. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So now, why Mike Huckabee? Why do you feel like he's the biggest dumbass?
You were talking to Matt earlier. The dude is a goddamn rocker. I mean, there's the kind of religion that he subscribes to and wants to impose on others is categorically dangerous to a free and secular society, as well as LGBT rights, women's rights, the Constitution of the United States. His ideas are dangerous if they were implemented. Of course, his ideas are benign until then. But yeah, he scares me the most. No policy ideas of the other candidates come close to being as crazy and destructive as his are.
Yeah. Which I know with Mike Huckabee, he actually was like trained as a pastor. like that's what he got his training for.
Well, and it shows. I'm not saying he doesn't do a good job. He's just wrong.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious. I've had this thing that I've said for a few months now, and that's been that if your political base or whatnot is based at all on religion, then you really shouldn't be running for president or any kind of public office. Do you think that would be accurate?
Okay. The atheist in me says yes. The insert whatever political term you want to use for my stance says no. Being religious doesn't preclude you from being able to run office. We have the no religious test, right? We have that for a reason. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have the ability to run for office. What it means, though, is it actually just is telling us how much education we have left ahead of us to provide. It just means that there's a whole group of people that need to be educated properly. Yeah, I really don't think that religious people should be like discouraged or whatever. What we should be doing is going, oh, there's a group of people that doesn't know facts about the planet that we've spent such a long time dissecting these facts from the foods around us. That just means we have more people to educate, and we shouldn't kick them out of the process because that's what they want to do to other people. That's fighting fire with fire in a way that doesn't really accomplish anything. Because if you start dictating who can vote based on their ideas, then shit, you're talking about a kind of fascism, and we don't want that for either side, honestly. If you're going to say that you don't want atheists excluded for being atheists, and you can't turn around and say that you want Christians excluded because they're Christians, or even if they're just nuts, even if they're crazy, you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, just to be clear, I was just talking about like in the minds of the voters, like they should be kind of like not considered as a good candidate.
They still should be considered, but they need to be considered against other. There's a lot of, I forget what they're called, but there's like a lot of words in the English language or in a lot of languages that whose meanings depend on the existence of the other, and it's almost circular, right? There's no good without bad. There's those types of relationships. If you have nothing to go, okay, that's the extreme end of dumb, and then here's like a middle dumb, and then here's okay, and then there's relatively smart, and then there's like a genius. It becomes meaningless when you start cutting off ends of that spectrum, and you're like, all right, we're only going to compare brilliant with okay. I want to see everyone's ideas. Someone who's batshit crazy might come up with an idea, a single idea, that's good, but the rest of their stuff's insane, so we can, on the good side, go, oh, that's a good idea, pluck that idea, and then keep it, but just categorically not listening to them is intellectually dishonest. I know that's not the answer you wanted.
Well, no. I want your honest, because I like getting input that's different than what I'm thinking.
I'm super fucking opinionated. Everybody knows that. I have a very particular way of how I think. But it doesn't mean I don't want to listen to people. I will tell them they're wrong. No problem telling them you're wrong. That doesn't mean I don't want to listen.
Well, it's just in researching like political, like people's political positions on things. Like, for instance, just an extreme example, Mike Huckabee. He's got God pretty much written across all of his political positions, especially on abortion and evolution and whatnot. And considering that we have like a secular government, I mean, I just felt like if you're going into the presidency with the mindset of, God, or the Christian God more specifically, is the reason why I have this stance, or not necessarily the reason, but is the reason and the reason why everybody else should think this way or whatnot. I don't know. I guess I just think that they won't make a good president for secular government.
Of course he wouldn't make a good president for that reason. That's why you don't vote for him for that reason.
Yeah.
But let me put it this way. When they were excluding certain people from the first debate, why? Yeah. What are you afraid of? Same thing I have. This is the same problem I have with Hillary in a different sense, where she won't ask for, she won't agree to doing more debates, or at least she's not pushing to do more debates. What are these people afraid of? Like, the whole point of having multiple debates is to, if you're, let me put it this way, if your ideas are good enough and you really believe in them, then putting them up against the other ideas that are on the table shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
So, just if you're considered a major candidate and Carly Fiorina and all the other people that were left off, they're considered by your party to be major candidates, you got to let them duke it out. That's the only way you're going to get, quote unquote, the best ideas to rise to the top.
Right. No, yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. But who do you like right now for the presidency?
I will not answer that question.
Okay.
It's too early in the election.
All right.
Any of my early feelings are too early to be a firm stance, and it's not fair to you to give you a bullshit answer.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to give the answer that you want to hear. I have my leanings. I have who I like, but that's. I don't want to commit to I'm voting for, or I think X is going to win. I want to wait and see whose ideas I like better. Because they're not really putting out, at this point, no candidate really, as much as everyone's criticizing each other for not doing this, no one's really putting out, here's the policy on X, and here's how I'm going to do it A, B, C, how I'm going to accomplish that. There is none of that yet, because it's what, still 2015? The nuts and bolts of because right now they're just trying to drum up support. I am the candidate for you because I share your values. That is much different than you should vote for me because I want to implement these plans. I have these ideas, and here's how I'll accomplish that. That's the part I want to see, and I haven't. It's too early to see that part of the campaign for any candidate. So no.
Yeah, well, in the same sense, like me, I like Bernie Sanders for running for president, and right now, in my current knowledge, I like him. I really don't think that there's any Republican out there right now that can change my opinion for me to want to vote Republican.
Of course,
yeah, but I think right now I like Bernie Sanders, But like you said, I mean, it really is early in the election. They really haven't defended a lot of their positions or pushed, how they propose to, fix that.
It's kind of a bad example. There are things that Bernie has said that I'm I agree with the general idea, but like I said before, it's hard to endorse someone when the idea isn't fleshed out.
Right. Exactly.
That's all.
Yeah.
So like I said, I have likes, I have leanings, but until I see black and white on paper, or at least hear some ideas fleshed out, it's one thing to say that we're going to make Social Security solvent, it's quite another to do that with a bipartisan support. Yeah. Those are the kinds of things you need to tell me. You can build up all the hopes in the world, but you gotta have a plan, Sam.
Right. And just real quick, do you think that it's gonna become a major problem for churches pushing, in the pulpit, certain political positions, or telling their parishioners to vote for a certain person?
No, well, it's not going to be the problem we want it to be. In other words, you're not going to see any of these people in court because the IRS has no balls and won't do their fucking job and take these people to court that they have every reason and legal obligation to do. I mean, Freedom from Religion Foundation, if I'm not mistaken, cut this out. But if I'm not mistaken, they sued the IRS for specifically not doing their job in those cases. And guess what? They still haven't.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with what they're doing, obviously. But if they want to participate, they should pay taxes.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't want the churches to pay taxes because they don't want the churches to have any kind of influence.
What the fuck? What planet are they living on? Where? No. I want to know what fucking planet these people are living on where the church doesn't already have influence.
Yeah.
all I want them to do is pay their ticket price instead of jumping over the fence.
Right.
You know, it wasn't an immigration thing. I mean, like, let me put it this way:
don't worry, Trump's got a
voting, taxes when it comes to those kind of entities is a lot like buying a ticket to an amusement park. You can't just. What's the point of paying a ticket if you can just like cut a hole in the fence and just go in?
Right.
You know, it's dumb.
It is.
They need to pay their way, or they need to stop what they're doing.
Exactly.